At the end of my most recent credit card roadmap video, I mentioned a table that I had made that I wanted to talk about in that video, but just didn't have the time to get to. And that table is all about managing my annual fees, both the ones that I already have on my existing credit cards, as well as the annual fees I will have once I add them from my roadmap. Now, as promised, y'all left a bunch of comments telling me that you did want to see me go in depth on this table. So of course, that's what we're doing here today. In this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly how I'm managing my annual fees on my existing and future edition credit cards. And what I mean by that is I'm going to tell you when I plan on canceling cards that have annual fees on them if I don't think I'm going to get value from them, while also explaining how I justify the annual fees on these cards, even though I'm paying in the thousands of dollars for my credit cards every single year. And before we dive in, I do just want to mention that if I sound a bit funky, that is because I'm pretty sick at the time we were recording this, but of course I still want to get this video out to y'all on time, so here we are. And my final last note before we jump in is that if you do see any of these credit cards on my list that catch your eye, I'll be leaving a link to most of these credit cards in my description so that if you do want to support this free content I put out to y'all at no additional cost to you, you can sign up for these cards using my links, and that really helps support the channel. So now that we're on my spreadsheet, of course, the most natural place to start is by discussing the annual fees on the cards that I already have. So as you can see at the top here, I have 4 credit cards right now that have an annual fee on them, with my most recent addition being this Marriott Boundless credit card that I added, I guess, last week at the time of y'all seeing this. And the 4 cards that have annual fees on them are going to be my Chase Sapphire Preferred with a $95 annual fee, my Amex Gold card with a $250 annual fee, my Capital One Venture X with a $395 annual fee, and the new Marriott Boundless card with a $95 annual fee. So I went ahead and just added in this total right here so you know right now what I've been paying in annual fees for these cards over the last year or so. And that comes out to a grand total of $835 that I'm paying to hold these 4 cards every single year. That already is a lot of money for me to just be holding a credit card and, you know, having the privilege of using it. But each one of these cards easily covers its annual fee because of what I get back on them, not only earning categories wise, but also with the credits and benefits that come on them. So in reality, if I made this an effective annual fee calculation, I mean, I'd be in the positives by a lot still, but that does not mean that I'm not having to pay $835 a year to hold these cards. Getting away from the spreadsheet for a second, the way that I want you to think about annual fee credit cards is that you are prepaying for benefits that you would have already been using by paying that annual fee at the beginning of your card member anniversary year, because what credits are not are, you know, free things that the credit card company is giving you. You pay for those things, you just pay for them up front with the cost of an annual fee. So before you sit there thinking that like, oh, this $835 actually doesn't matter because you're getting positive value, it still does matter, because if I wasn't going to be paying for $835 worth of the credits and benefits that these 4 cards gave me, then I'm wasting $835. But of course, most people watching this understand that we are going to get positive value from our cards, and that's also what I want to talk about in this video. Just to do some rough calculations here on each of these cards for you, I might as well just tell you, how I personally get positive value from them. Starting with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, of course, this card does come with a $50 annual hotel credit when you book travel through Chase's Ultimate Rewards portal. And further than travel, you obviously need to be booking a hotel through their travel portal. And I actually just triggered this credit myself for a trip that is coming up in the next week or two. So right there, that already brings my effective annual fee down to just $45. But I don't even care about that credit. The way that this card gives me a ton of value is by allowing me to transfer my Chase points out to their travel partners. I've made this example, I think, multiple times already on my channel, but let's just think about how this card actually gives me value. Let's say that before I had this card and had the ability to transfer out to Chase's travel partners, I had a hotel that I wanted to book that would have costed me 60,000 Chase points through their portal. Now, with the addition of the Chase Sapphire Preferred, if that hotel was a Hyatt and I wanted to transfer my Chase points out to Hyatt, by booking directly through Hyatt, I may only need to use 30,000 points, meaning that I just saved myself 30,000 Chase points right there just by having this card. And that's only for one booking. So if you're doing multiple a year, you're saving yourself a ton of points by having this card. Now, those 30,000 points at a bare minimum are worth $300 at 1 cent per point. But if you get that 2, 3, 5 cent per point redemption with your Chase points, those 30,000 points could be worth at least $600 and maybe even up to like $1,200 or more, which that would cover the annual fee on this card for like 10 years if you had those higher redemptions. So that's why this card is so powerful. And also why I would pay a $95 annual fee every single year, even if I never use any of the other credits on this card. As for the Amex Gold card, that $250 annual fee is honestly pretty annoying, mainly because the credits that you have to offset that annual fee are monthly credits that come at you in the form of $10 per month credit each. So you have one $10 per month credit for Uber Cash and one $10 per month credit for your dining credit. To me, those are extremely annoying to use, and especially since I moved out to the country where I'm living right now, I don't really have much opportunity to use these, except I did use them while I was in Vegas, so there's that. But while I am living in a big city, it's not hard for me to use those every year. So my effective annual fee, whenever you subtract those $240 worth of credits from this card, would actually only be $10. And then the 4x earning categories on dining and on groceries with this card easily justify the annual fee and much more. But even if you only use like half the credits on this card, I would still argue that those earning categories are actually going to be enough to justify this annual fee compared to something like the Saver One that only gives you like 3% cash back if you don't have the Venture X, of course, or another Venture card, I guess. But of course, you need to do the math for yourself. I also did just get a retention offer on this card for 30,000 Amex points, which to me are worth at least $600. So that covers the annual fee for over 2 years, which is why I can justify paying this annual fee. The Venture X is probably the easiest card to get positive value from because you have one $300 annual travel credit when you book travel through Capital One's travel portal. I also just used that on that same trip that I'll be taking in a week or two, so you'll be hearing more about that. But you also get 10,000 anniversary miles just by renewing the annual fee every year, which already puts you in the positive by at least $5 if you're doing the math at a 1 cent per point rate for those 10,000 points. But you also get a $100 global entry or TSA pre-check credit, which also offsets this annual fee a little more for you. But for me, that $300 travel credit and the ability to transfer my Capital One miles out to travel partners makes this annual fee easily justifiable every year, even though I am prepaying technically over $300 just to be able to use this card and having to use this card through their travel portal to get that $300 annual travel credit back. Is that worth it to you? I don't know, but for this first year of me holding it, it was easy enough to use. Just remember though, that is not a free $300 travel credit that you're getting. You are just prepaying for that travel down the line, and you just can't forget that. As for the Marriott Boundless card, that $95 annual fee is pretty easily justifiable, mainly because after your first card anniversary, you'll get a free 35,000 point free night on this card. And that right there would justify the annual fee every single year. But this card also has a lot of other benefits that help offset it even more. But y'all know that the main reason I even got this card is because I do want to product change it to the Ritz-Carlton card, meaning that this annual fee doesn't even really matter because I'm going to be product changing it here in September of 2024, as you can see here. At least that's the plan for now, but I may have to wait a couple months after that, depending on when I hit the welcome bonus and stuff like that. But moral of the story, this annual fee doesn't necessarily matter because I'm going to be getting rid of it in place of a $450 annual fee as of next year. Okay, so we've covered the total so far of the cards that I already have, but as for the rest of 2023, I still plan on adding the Hilton Business card that also has a $95 annual fee. I would say for me, the $95 annual fee will be justifiable every year because this card does give you Hilton Gold status, which gives you like free breakfast and stuff like that. And I know in that Vegas meetup that I was just at, a lot of people with this card, even with just gold status, paid for this card in one trip because of that free breakfast. And of course, this card comes with a lot more than that. You can get free nights on it and stuff. But in reality, the $95 annual fee should be pretty easily justifiable every single year. So what that would mean though is that at the end of 2023, my total annual fees for that year would have been $930. We haven't broke that $1,000 mark yet, but still, that's a lot of money to be paying for credit cards. But again, I would imagine that I'm getting thousands of dollars worth of value from these cards every year, meaning that I can justify taking that $930 hit because I know how to use the credit cards correctly. Okay, but now let's move into 2024, where I have 2 cards currently being scheduled that are more guaranteed compared to these 2 options down below that we'll be talking about here in a little bit. But as of June of 2024, at least as I have planned right now, I'm thinking about getting the World of Hyatt business card, meaning that I would add a $199 annual fee to this total at that time. Now, we already talked about how the Marriott Boundless card is one that I do plan on canceling, well, not canceling, but product changing after year 1. So we're going to get rid of this $95 annual fee in one of these totals down here. Well, I guess in both of these totals down here, actually. But that is being replaced by a $450 annual fee, so it's not quite counting as me like canceling the card. But this World of Hyatt business card is genuinely going to be a card that I only probably keep for 1 year, and that would be the first card out of my entire credit card setup that I would only keep for a year. All my other credit cards I try to justify keeping forever, but this is one where I'd really just be getting it for the welcome bonus, and after that I'd be canceling it. There are some ways to recoup some value back from this credit card, namely the fact that you can grant Discoverist status to people. I believe it's Discoverist at least, and you also get like $100 worth of credits back from Hyatt in 2 $50 increments, I believe. And while I could try to really justify this card, I just don't think that paying $200 a year for this card without an actual free night on it, you know, without you spending a ton of money money on it. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me personally. So this is an interesting case where this will be one that I'm actually canceling after a year. However, for the rest of 2024 and until June of the next year, I will have to sacrifice that $200. Although, like I said, I'll be justifying that because of the welcome bonus that I get on this card. Now, we already talked about this card a bunch here, but the Ritz-Carlton card is one that I'll be product changing to from the Boundless in technically September or maybe just late 2024. So that will effectively replace this $95 annual fee, which is something that we're going to be seeing in our formula up here. Subtracted this $95 annual fee and added in the Ritz-Carlton. So that's where these numbers are coming from. Going back to the Ritz-Carlton card, I would justify this $450 annual fee pretty dang easily because you do get $300 worth of airline incidental credits, which I believe I could actually use with Southwest flights if I booked them correctly. But the main benefit that a lot of people like is, well, I guess they do have the priority pass lounge access that gives you like unlimited guests and you get access to the restaurants and spas and all of that. But this card also gives you a free night every year worth up to 85,000 points. So that right there would even justify the annual fee on it. But in reality, this card gives you just a ton of value. So I'm not ever worried about not getting enough value from this card to justify that annual fee. Now we get into the two options here. The more I think about option one, I'm not 100% sure this is going to be the way I go. I honestly think it's probably less likely that I go this way, especially considering I'm assuming more cards will come out in the next year. And, at least I hope so. And those would probably replace both of these options. But as of right now, let's just go ahead and cover both options. So option one involves me getting the Southwest Companion Pass, as we talked about in my credit card roadmap video. And that option would require me to pay basically $350 in annual fees for 2 Southwest credit cards. That way I can earn enough points from the welcome bonuses to actually get me Companion Pass for the rest of 2025 and into 2026 after I hit these bonuses, of course. So $350, that's a lot of money to be paying still for a Companion Pass. I can justify both of these cards for the most part, but as I mentioned in that video, I think the Southwest Performance Business would be one I canceled after a year, but the Southwest Priority card is one that I'd probably leave open after that first year because it actually does give me positive value. And since I fly with Southwest so much right now, it would just be a keeper card. Okay, but now after talking about option one, we have a total annual fee cost in 2024 of $1,832. That is a ton of money to be spending on credit card annual fees. Just going into the formula here, you'll see that I added in all of my existing credit cards because all of them are going to be justifiable in years to come. But I did subtract out the Marriott Boundless card because it's getting replaced by the Ritz-Carlton. And I also just added in all of the other cards up to option one here. And that's how I got this grand total. Like I mentioned before, the World of Hyatt business card would be getting canceled in year 2. But like I said, I'm still going to have to be paying that annual fee for 2024. So that is going to be actually the biggest number that we cover here today. That option one would have me paying a lot in annual fees. Granted, again, I would be getting positive value from these cards or I wouldn't be getting them, but still, I'm prepaying $1,800 just to use some credit cards, which is a lot. Option two just involves me getting the City Premier at the end of 2024, and that would only cost me $95 extra to do that. And I could justify this annual fee with that $100 hotel credit that comes on the card after spending $500 on a hotel stay in their travel portal, which is kind of annoying. But again, even if I don't take that into consideration, this card gives me access to City's transfer partners, which if I did at least one redemption a year, similar to how I talked about the Chase Sapphire Preferred, that would justify this card for years to come. So in doing the similar math that we did before, but not including option one and only including option two, my total annual fee would come out to $1,579. Still quite a bit, but also like almost $300 less than option one. So realistically, I would expect myself to be paying about $1,500 in annual fees in the next year because of all the cards that I want to keep open. And while I can't exactly predict what's going to happen in 2025, I can include the Marriott business card because I know that is one that I want to add. And this one also comes with an annual free night of like 35,000 points. So it's an easy justifiable fee as well. And you can see the two totals here depending on which option I went with for 2025, but this does not include any of the other cards I would get in the beginning of this year, which would probably increase this number by a lot. These numbers also were calculated by subtracting out the World of Hyatt business card because I won't be paying that annual fee in 2025, assuming that I do want to cancel the card. But all of those other costs are really starting to add up in that next year, so it's going to be a lot. One really important thing to note is that each one of these cards came with a welcome offer And the welcome offers that I try to get are going to be like the highest out there possible. So what that means is generally those welcome offers are going to cover the annual fee on these cards for at least a couple of years, usually more than that, meaning that I can try out all of these annual fee cards for a year, pay that annual fee, know that I'm going to get positive value from the welcome bonus, and also hopefully ensure that I'm going to be getting positive value from these cards from years to come. But at least I have that luxury of being able to test them for a year and then either downgrading them or canceling them after that year if I realize they're not worth it. Welcome bonuses are honestly one of the best parts about the credit card game because they allow you to get automatic positive value from your cards if you know how to use the points that you earn from those welcome bonuses. Now, am I recommending that you go out and get all of the credit cards you can with annual fees on them just because you can justify it with the welcome offer? No, absolutely not. But just know that if you're on the fence with a card and you don't know if you can really justify it in years to come, you can technically just do a trial run with it for a year and, assume that you're going to get positive value from that welcome bonus. And then you can reevaluate at the end of that year if it's worth it for you or not. Just make sure that you do have a backup plan, because if you don't, then you might be stuck canceling a card that you didn't want to, and that could hurt your credit score over time. But if you're being responsible with it and kind of planning it out like this, knowing which cards you're going to cancel and why, I think that doing a trial run for a year on certain credit cards is a really smart thing to do. I also want to go back here real quick just to note that the cards that I am planning on canceling, well, really just the World of Hyatt business card because this Marriott Boundless is getting product changed, but this World of Hyatt business card, similar to the Southwest Performance business card, as I mentioned earlier, are both cards that I'm probably going to be canceling in year 2 after having them. But the reason I'm okay with canceling those is because they are business credit cards. They also don't have any no annual fee downgrade paths, so my real only option is to cancel them. But since they're business credit cards, that will not hurt my credit score because those cards are not reporting to my personal credit report. So that's just another way that I'm strategically thinking about managing these annual fees. And even though these numbers are getting up really high, I know that I can get positive value from them. And if I do need to cancel them or downgrade them, I can do that in a responsible way. I hope that me sharing this shows you that it's one thing to go ahead and, figure out what credit cards you want to add next and in what order and, have all that fun stuff talking about the positive value you'll get from these cards. But you definitely need to also take the time to understand how much you're going to have to be paying for these cards, because every card doesn't just give you positive value. Sometimes you're going to be paying more in annual fees than you actually expected, and that might make these cards not worth adding right now. So that's really the whole reason I'm making this video and showing y'all this second table, is because you don't just want to get caught up in the hype of these credit cards. You really do need to understand the full picture around them, understand what an annual fee actually means, and calculate if you'll actually get positive value from these cards, not only in the first year, but in years to come. But of course, I do think that these cards are really awesome, or I wouldn't have added them into my roadmap at all. So if you're looking for links to any of these, once again, those will be down below. If you want to hear more about why I plan to add these specific cards to my setup in the next couple of years, be sure to go ahead and watch this video next, where I go in depth on each of these cards and explain why they make sense for my personal situation. And as always, Odin and I both want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.